Las Vegas has been preparing for months for the Formula One Grand Prix to take place on the world-famous Las Vegas Strip. And for millions of people so far, the preparation has been a serious mess. In this video, I'm going to cover some of the biggest issues that have taken place in the first year of F1's contract in Las Vegas. The first point we'll cover is something that Las Vegas sees a lot of: construction. The joke about the state flower being the traffic cone has been around for years. Southern Nevada is a place that has seen serious population growth in recent decades and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. And people living here generally understand that certain big events coming to town may impact their daily lives, whether it's the Strip closing down for New Year's Eve, EDC at the Motor Speedway, or any other big event. But I don't think anyone expected F1 to require this amount of construction, nor did anyone understand that it was going to interrupt their lives for this long of a period of time. The amount of construction has been really frustrating for employees who work in the area and for the tourists who have visited during this time. The other issue with F1 construction is not just how it's impacting the Strip area, but how it's going on at the same time as so much other construction nearby. The Tropicana Overpass project started in early 2023, but won't be completed until 2025. Tropicana is a major road that goes over I-15 that gives people freeway access who are leaving and entering the Strip area. Other construction going on in the area has been taking place on Harmon, on Koval, and on Flamingo as well. And these streets are oftentimes used to alleviate the congestion of the traffic on Las Vegas Boulevard. Then you throw in the fact that Paradise Road, one more block over, has been under construction, and then one more block over from there, University, has also been under construction. So not only has the Strip been under construction, but you have roads as far as 3 blocks away that people would normally use to try to get away from the congestion and away from all the traffic. This situation has led to the commute times for Strip employees tripling, taxi drivers getting paid the same flat rate for their ride to certain hotels even though it took longer, and millions of tourists losing out on valuable time during their vacation. On the days of the race, these temporary bridges right here will be in use to help alleviate traffic and help with the flow of traffic on those days. When the race is not going on, they will be open to the public as well as emergency vehicles that are responding to calls for service. For the people who have been following the development of the F1 project since the beginning, the aspect of construction funding is one of the things that arguably pisses them off the most. In case you weren't aware, there's been numerous reports over the months about the $80 million in construction costs that have had to take place in order for Las Vegas to be able to host the Grand Prix. In the beginning, F1 was footing that entire bill of construction costs. However, during the process, they went to the Clark County Commission and asked them for $40 million in public funding to help pay for the construction. This brought up a few questions to me and likely to you as well. First question: why would an event this big and profitable need $40 million of public funding? Formula One is owned by Liberty Media Group, which was named by Forbes in 2023 for being the world's most valuable sports empire. And for very good reason. Remember, they asked for $40 million, which to you and me is a lot of money. But when you compare it to how much their company is worth, it is essentially pennies to them. Liberty Media's assets were valued by Forbes at $20.8 billion. To put that in perspective, the second most valuable company was listed at being worth $12.8 billion. So they have an $8 billion lead on their next closest competitor. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, came in third at $11.3 billion. Liberty Media is almost double that. Yankee Global Enterprises of the New York Yankees, one of the most iconic sports team in any sport in the history of the United States, was $7.6 billion. Liberty Media is almost triple that. Second question: why do you need the public to fund it? Given these incredible numbers, I am pretty sure that a private sector organization worth almost $21 billion can figure out a way to obtain $40 million in private funding. And this comes after a recent local news interview that showed that F1 is already receiving public money.
A return on investment, Steve Hill, LVCVA president and CEO, says warranted some financial help during early negotiations. Police, fire, and volunteers all on LVCVA's tab.
And for all major events in Southern Nevada, those public services are paid for by the event.
Directly from the website of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, the LVCVA is funded solely by the room tax paid by visitors to our destination. We receive no revenue from any other source, including local residents. Now, the problem with the part on the site about locals is that it's not true. First, locals do staycations here in the Vegas Valley, and they do pay the room tax. Second, a simple Google search will get you access to the list of all the businesses that pay the room tax. When people think of hotels in Las Vegas, they generally think of the mega resorts that are known by millions of people that come here on vacation. However, the list of businesses also includes weekly stays that many locals live in and are frequently in the poorer parts of the Las Vegas Valley. Even though a sizable portion of locals do live in these weekly stays, you can see from the list that they are in fact part of the ones that are charged the room tax. I even went to the office of one of these weekly stays and asked the property manager if the tenants do pay the room tax, and she told me for the first 30 days they do pay the room tax, because after 30 days you're considered a resident and then you don't. But for those first 30 days, people are paying, whether they live here or whether they're visiting. By the way, this also happened when Allegiant Stadium was being built, and I only remember seeing one article about the millions of dollars that were estimated to have come from locals, particularly poorer locals in these weekly stays, to help fund that stadium. So the statement about only the tourists paying the room tax is not true, and everyone who's gone around repeating that has been fooled. Third question. Why was this not all ironed out beforehand? That is a really great question that was asked during that same news story in that interview.
How come some of this wasn't sorted out before Formula One came to town?
They could have. They didn't need to. They're having that conversation now.
That answer is really concerning. Here's the deal. It's understandable that any large project that you have in front of you, no matter how much planning you do, will come with its own set of unique challenges. And things may very well come up that you just did not expect. What's not unique to any project in the history of the modern world is making sure that you actually have all of your funding in place before you begin the project. Which means the question of what if we go over budget should have been answered from the get-go. And in a place like Las Vegas that has decades of experience with numerous projects that cost hundreds of millions to billions of dollars to complete, that is inexcusable. Keep in mind that for this event to happen, it takes local and federal government agencies and a multi-billion-dollar sports brand to all come to an agreement. And apparently, at no point in that process was a backup plan for the budget put in place. So 100,000 hospitality workers have had their lives disrupted for months, millions of tourists have had their vacation time interfered with, and throughout all of this, the details for the finances for this project were not finalized. There's only two ways I can see this taking place, and neither one is good. The first is that there was too much incompetence in the process by too many different people. The second is that there's something else going on that you and I and the public don't know about. The next point has been one of the biggest plot twists with F1 coming to Las Vegas, and it's the recent stories about F1 threatening to block the views of people that will be watching the race along the racetrack from clubs and restaurants. F1 initially wanted these businesses to pay $1,500 per person for the maximum capacity of the entire venue. So if the business had 1,500 seats available, that means it would cost them over $2 million they would have had to pay to F1 to not have their views blocked for their customers with lights and stands. The venues obviously did not like this because they would have to dramatically increase their prices, which would get passed along to you, the customer, for the event. But also, just because someone is inside the venue does not mean that they would actually have a good view to watch the race. F1 has changed their tune on this a little bit from wanting everyone to pay a $1,500 fee, even if they're way in the back and they can't see anything, to now just charging a $50,000 flat fee for the entire venue. Now, there is a certain level of irony in this whole situation that some people have noticed. Las Vegas hotels, casinos, and attractions have become notorious in recent years for adding all kinds of fees right at the end of when a transaction is about to close. And now they are the ones facing an incredibly wealthy and powerful organization that is imposing its own fee on them. I do have to say that I think it has been pretty wild to see another private company that is a total outsider to Las Vegas come in here and try to strong arm the most powerful industry in the state of Nevada into paying more money for a deal that they thought was already completed. The dominant belief among locals here in the Vegas Valley is that this, so far, has been a massive mistake to have this event here. The concerns over logistics, transportation during the race, and concerns about massive numbers of employees calling off on race weekend are all very valid. There's even been recent reports of local businesses who've had their business hurt by all these months and months of construction for the race. So with all this negativity around how F1 has entered the Las Vegas market, what can they do to win over the local population? For this to be worth it to the casinos, they need to see a record number in terms of revenue. In order for this event to be worth it for locals, hospitality workers need to earn a record level of tips for this event. I'm not just talking a good day in tips. I mean, this needs to be the kind of event where when they are retired 20 years from now, they're telling stories about how much money they made every single F1 weekend in order for them to feel like they can justify all of the headache that this has caused so far. One concern with that is that the European countries definitely do not have the same kind of tipping culture that we do here in the United States. Definitely a cultural gap in that situation. Now, if you're a decamillionaire in Europe or you're a billionaire, hey, you're coming to Vegas, you need help, you can go ahead and reach me at my email down in the about page here, and I'll help you with that while you're here in town. The pressure is without a doubt on F1 in order to bring in these record numbers for this event. If the numbers are not huge, then we may be looking at this contract ending after 3 years. Many people think the contract is 10 years, but most of the articles that I've seen say 3, and even that same interview news segment also said 3 years.
Bill adds there is a 3-year financial deal in place, but expects to sign a 10-year one before those 3 years are up.
Las Vegas has agreed to doing this for 10 years straight. However, F1 has not yet agreed. The numbers that have been publicized in recent reports is that the expected impact of F1 in its first year to be over $1 billion. That is even a higher number than what the Super Bowl is expected to bring here. The first year of this event is definitely going to be the roughest because of the amount of preparation needed to get the Vegas area ready. There will undoubtedly be issues the first year this is done, with airline travel, room reservations, accommodations, transportations, etc. If you try something for the first time, chances are you're gonna make mistakes. It's the same concept for a business, it's the same concept for a major metro area hosting a massive sporting event for the first time in decades. I did a video several years ago before Allegiant Stadium was built talking about some of the issues with that stadium. And some of those things, when it came to the first concert, ended up being true. However, over time, they were able to get those logistics sorted out. Because no matter how much planning you do, there's a good chance that something unexpected will happen. The silver lining in all this is that in the first year of doing this, it gives an opportunity to see what unexpected problems there were, so that in future years, they can plan better and have a much smoother experience for all involved. The public image of F1 coming to Las Vegas, particularly as it pertains to money, has probably been the biggest turnoff with the locals. Yes, the construction has been a nightmare for months for hospitality employees, other locals, and tourists alike. And the way F1 seems to be constantly trying to squeeze both the public and private sector for more money does not set the stage for a warm welcome, and definitely is not a good first impression for the future. Even for people who like to see the growth of Las Vegas and they're happy to see sports events come here, oftentimes they're just not a fan of the way it is done. Hopefully, the relationship between F1 and the local population here can improve in future years. This was a lot of information to put together for this video, so if there's something that I missed or an important detail that was off or something, please feel free to share it. Regardless, it's going to be very interesting in the coming years to see how the local population feels towards F1 and if those feelings change from now to something more positive down the road. Tell me what you guys think. I'm Jacob, this is My Life in Vegas.